Once spanning from the Korean peninsula to Istanbul, the Silk Road served as the earliest connection between Asia and Europe, linking east and west. Today's travelers who follow the ancient paths once tread by merchants and pilgrims along routes that camel caravans used for centuries will find that the Silk Road remains a portal to some of the world's most remarkable cultural treasures and stunning scenery. The legacy of 1,000 years of Silk Road history lives on in the diverse trading towns and outposts that emerged along the route, stretching from Japan to Azerbaijan. Do you know which legendary city on the Silk Road was once called the Jewel of the Desert? Stay tuned to find out. Rising splendidly from the heart of ancient Constantinople, the majestic Hagia Sophia was completed in 537 AD, enduring symbol of the Roman Empire's vast power, opulence, and deep religiosity. More than just a structure, it was a statement to the world, a blend of imperial ambition and spiritual devotion cast in stone and gold. With its immense dome seeming to hover miraculously in the air, it crowned the city like a celestial beacon, drawing the ice and the souls of all who approached. In the days of the Silk Road, Constantinople was more than a city. It was a dream at the edge of empires, a destination shimmering with promise. Here, weary merchants from distant lands, China, Persia, India, would arrive after long months on treacherous trails. Many would pause, their journeys momentarily forgotten, transfixed by the Hagia Sophia's towering presence. For those who stepped inside, what awaited was a vision beyond imagination. Mosaics that danced with golden light, soaring arches that seemed to lift the spirit, and an atmosphere so luminous that one chronicler in the 10th century famously asked, "Is this heaven or earth?" The building didn't merely impress, it overwhelmed. It offered solace and astonishment in equal measure, a place where the sacred met the sublime. Within its hushed walls, cultures mingled silently, and languages blended in prayer. Pilgrims, traders, and travelers alike found themselves changed by the experience, carrying echoes of its beauty back across mountains and deserts. For nearly 1,000 years, it stood as the largest cathedral in the Eastern Christian world, a spiritual compass for countless generations, and a silent witness to the tides of history that swept through this vital crossroads. Though empires have risen and fallen, the Hagia Sophia remains its magnificence undimmed, its story still unfolding. More than a monument, it is a bridge between East and West, a silent echo of the Silk Road's enduring legacy, and a breathtaking reminder of humanity's longing for beauty, meaning, and transcendence. Now, before we move on to the next destination, here's a fun question for you. Which desert did ancient Silk Road caravans have to cross, often called the Sea of Death? Comment your answer below. Nestled deep within the sun-warmed sandstone canyons of modern-day Jordan lies Petra, the majestic lost city that once pulsed with life at the heart of ancient trade. Though often remembered for its breathtaking facades and rose-colored stone, Petra was far more than a marvel of architecture. It was a crucial stop along the fabled Silk Road, quietly shaping the flow of goods, ideas, and empires. Hidden in plain sight, this desert jewel served as a vibrant trading outpost, connecting the distant markets of China and India with the Mediterranean world. Rising to prominence in the 4th century BC, as the capital of the Nabatean people renowned for their mastery of commerce and desert navigation, Petra owed much of its success to the foresight of its location. Shielded by steep sandstone cliffs and set along the well-traveled King's Highway, it stood at the very crossroads of Arabia, Asia, and Europe. This natural fortress provided security, while its strategic position invited opportunity. Caravans laden with silk, spices, incense, and rare treasures from the east would rest here, and in return, the Nabateans collected wealth in the form of taxes, tolls, and trade. With time and prosperity, they carved their legacy into stone temples, tombs, altars, and dwellings, etched directly into the cliffs, glowing with hues of pink and amber in the shifting desert light. These were not mere structures, but expressions of a thriving civilization that blended influences from Greek, Roman, and Eastern traditions into something uniquely its own. Petra earned its poetic title, the City of Rock, not only for its physical form but for its enduring strength. Even today, as one wanders through the narrow sick and emerges before the awe-inspiring treasury, it's easy to imagine the bustle of ancient traders, the scent of spices on the wind, and the quiet pride of a city that once held the world's riches in its hands. The spirit of the Silk Road still lingers in the silence of Petra's canyons, echoing through stone and time, reminding us that even in the harshest landscapes, beauty and brilliance can bloom. If you are watching this, please click the subscribe button in the corner of the screen. It's completely free, but means a lot to us. If there is one city that truly captures the romantic heart and soul of the Silk Roads, it is undoubtedly Samarkand. This storied city, cradled in the vast steppes of Central Asia, unfolds like a richly woven tapestry, its threads shimmering with tales of conquest, culture, devotion, and trade. One of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the region, Samarkand rose to prominence through its strategic position on the ancient Silk Road, drawing merchants, scholars, poets, and travelers from every corner of the known world. Its bazaars once overflowed with silk from China, spices from India, glassware from Rome, and ideas that would ripple across empires. But it was in the 14th century, under the powerful vision of Timur, that Samarkand bloomed into a jewel of breathtaking grandeur. Chosen as the capital of the Timurid Empire, the city became a canvas upon which Timur projected his ambitions of fusion of Persian elegance, Islamic artistry, and Mongol might. Great monuments rose from the earth with astonishing speed and precision. The majestic Registan, with its 3 towering madrasas adorned in intricate tilework, and the monumental Bibi Khanum Mosque, built to awe both subjects and visitors with its impossible scale and ornate design. These structures, glowing like mirages under the desert sun, still whisper of an age when architecture reached for the divine. Yet behind the splendor lies another layer of the city's truth, a story of laborers toiling under immense pressure, of riches seized in battle and repurposed to forge beauty from domination. The grandeur of Samarkand, for all its elegance, was born in equal measure from ambition and suffering. The polished domes and silent courtyards seem to hold not just light, but memory of conquests, of craftsmanship, and of the passage of time itself. Today, walking through the architectural ensemble, one feels a quiet reverence. The past presses gently against the present, and the ghost of Timur still lingers in every arch and mosaic. It's easy to imagine the city at its peak, vibrant, cosmopolitan, and filled with the hum of languages, the glint of distant wares, and the scent of promise on the breeze. Samarkand remains a living poem of the Silk Road, where history doesn't just survive, it sings. While Timur is revered as a great conqueror and empire builder across much of Central Asia, his legacy in China casts a far more ominous shadow. As he swept westward through Persia and into Asia Minor in the late 14th century, his army's fierce and unrelenting Chinese rulers watched with rising unease. The Ming dynasty, newly established and keenly aware of the fragility of peace, recognized that although vast deserts and mountain ranges separated their empire from Timur's, the old road still connected them. The Silk Road, once a path for silk and incense, now carried the scent of war on the wind. In response, the Ming court undertook one of the greatest defensive projects in human history, a vast rebuilding and expansion of the Great Wall of China. While earlier versions had existed since the Qin and Han dynasties, it was during this period that the wall began to take on the imposing form we recognize today: solid stone, fortified towers, and serpentine ridgelines stretching across the land like a great sleeping dragon. Its very stones were laid by hands shaped by Silk Road exchange, masons, artisans, and engineers who brought techniques and tools influenced by the very world the wall sought to keep out. There is a certain poetry in that the protector born of the paths it hoped to close. Stretching over 13,000 miles, the wall became not only a symbol of China's defensive might, but also a silent witness to the cultural dialogues that shaped the region. It stood not merely as a barrier, but as a mirror to China's deepest fears and its highest aspirations. Traders who arrived at its foot after months of travel through steppe, desert, and mountain must have looked upon it with stunned wonder. How surreal it must have been, after long days chasing mirages, to see such a vast structure unspooling across the land, vanishing into the misty horizon. Though built for protection, the Great Wall became inseparable from the very idea of the Silk Road, an emblem of resilience, ambition, and the enduring complexity of East-West encounters. Its stones do not speak, yet they hold the stories of countless lives: soldiers on watch, masons at work, merchants in awe, and emperors dreaming of peace. And in that silence, the wall continues to echo across time, deserving its place not only as one of the wonders of the world, but as one of the most enduring symbols of the Silk Roads themselves. This otherworldly region in central Turkey, shaped by millions of years of volcanic activity, offers a different kind of awe. The Earth does not merely host history, it cradles it, conceals it, and protects it in the most unexpected of places. Over a millennium ago, early Christian communities fled into these soft, tough valleys, seeking refuge from waves of Arab raids. In this strange, surreal landscape of wind-carved chimneys and honeycombed cliffs, they found sanctuary. With hand tools and unwavering faith, they carved delicate churches into the very stone, frescoed sanctuaries still whispering stories of devotion and survival. These rock-cut chapels, modest, hidden, luminous, became places of worship, solace, and cultural expression, standing to this day as quiet witnesses to a time when faith had to hide to survive. But even more mysterious than these cliffside churches are the vast underground cities that descend like labyrinths beneath Cappadocia's surface. So far, more than 200 subterranean complexes have been discovered, astonishing spaces stretching hundreds of feet below ground beneath the ancient lava flows of Mount Erciyes. These weren't mere hiding places. They were sprawling underground metropolises, complete with ventilation shafts, stables, kitchens, schools, wells, and even chapels designed to house entire communities for months at a time. Derinkuyu, the deepest known, plunges 279 feet and could once shelter up to 20,000 people. Nearby, another vast complex linked by a newly uncovered tunnel could hold 6,000 more. The brilliance of these hidden havens speaks to a deep ingenuity shaped by necessity and trust in the land. Entire populations moved between surface and earth, adapting their lives to the shifting threats of history. In the chaos and uncertainty above, these underground cities offered not just safety but continuity, a silent, stone-bound resilience threading through generations of Silk Road travelers and settlers. The hum of history becomes audible, and one begins to sense the enduring, unseen network that connected east to west, not just in the open markets and grand capitals, but in the hidden places where people endured, created, and believed. Cappadocia, the Silk Road doesn't only travel across landscapes, it burrows into the soul of the earth, reminding us that the greatest wonders are sometimes the ones still being uncovered. This ancient oasis, once a vital stop along the Silk Road, is among the most beautifully preserved cities from that legendary era. Step inside its walls, and it's as though time folds back. Khiva becomes not just a destination, but a living storybook, where every alley whispers of caravans, craftsmen, and centuries of cultural exchange. The old walled city, Ichan Kala, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and feels like walking through the pages of 1001 Nights. More than 50 historical sites are tucked within its clay ramparts, ornate madrasas, dazzling minarets, mosaic-covered palaces, and quiet mosques, each echoing with the footsteps of generations past. Khiva feels like a sandcastle world brought to life. Its fortress walls, so perfectly weathered, seem to guard not only the town but its stories. It becomes a memory of a world that once was a crossroads of empires, a haven for traders and dreamers, and a timeless testament to the wonder of the Silk Road. Though it often lingers in the shadows of its more illustrious siblings, Samarkand, Bukhara, and Khiva, Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan, quietly asserts its own place among the best Silk Road destinations. At first glance, it may seem more modern, more subdued. Yet give it time, and Tashkent begins to reveal its charms like a well-kept secretone that blends the rhythms of contemporary life with the echoes of a storied past. As the natural gateway to the country, Tashkent is often the first and last place visitors encounter, and it deserves far more than a fleeting glance. Here, Islamic architecture finds an elegant prologue. But Tashkent is no mere historic relic. It is a city alive with fountains, leafy boulevards, public art, and the quiet joys of modern life. Cafes hum with conversation, markets burst with fragrant spices and ripe fruit, and wide green parks offer a cool respite from the Central Asian sun. There's something comforting in its balance, a city that doesn't rush to impress, but rather welcomes you with warmth, giving you space to breathe before or after the sensory splendor of Uzbekistan's more dramatic destinations. It's also a wonderfully practical base, well connected by rail and road, making it effortless to journey onward to Bukhara's golden domes, Khiva's sand-hued walls, or Samarkand's shimmering majesty. The city's international airport ensures that most Silk Road adventures in Uzbekistan begin and end here. And for many, Tashkent becomes a gentle landing place, a moment of stillness after weeks immersed in vivid mosaics, towering portals, and kaleidoscopic tilework. So don't overlook Tashkent. Let it be the quiet overture and the soft farewell to your Silk Road journey, a city where ancient culture and modern ease walk hand in hand, offering a glimpse into both the heart of Uzbekistan and the enduring legacy of the Silk Road. Cradled at the foot of the towering Tian Shan Mountains, Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyzstan, is one of Central Asia's most intriguing yet understated cities. At first glance, it may appear like a quiet blend of Soviet-era architecture and broad boulevards. But give it time, and Bishkek reveals itself to be much more than a post-Soviet relicence, a city where deep traditions, mountain spirit, and quiet resilience merge into a culture all its own. Bishkek has long stood as a crossroads of cultures. Though relatively young in terms of modern development, the region itself lies near the ancient Silk Road corridors, where traders once paused to rest, barter, and share stories under the shadow of snow-capped peaks. The city's backdrop is one of its most striking features, the Ala-2 mountain range, whose snow-dusted peaks seem to watch over the city like silent guardians. Just outside Bishkek, the landscape opens into wide valleys, fragrant pine forests, and alpine lakes, making the city a gateway for explorers and trekkers seeking untouched wilderness. Architecturally, Bishkek reflects its pasta patchwork of neoclassical government buildings, utilitarian apartment blocks, and newer developments that hint at the city's future. But beyond the concrete facades, there's a quiet poetry to its layout. Tree-lined avenues, public gardens, and shaded courtyards offer refuge from the summer heat, and monuments to poets and heroes of Kyrgyz lore speak to a culture deeply rooted in storytelling and national pride. For travelers tracing the Silk Road, or those simply seeking a place where nature and culture meet in quiet harmony, Bishkek offers a beginning or a pause that's both grounding and soul-stirring. In a world where towering skyscrapers and concrete jungles define most urban landscapes, there's a unique charm when a city manages to preserve its character beneath a modern veneer. Guangzhou is that rare exception. One of China's oldest trading ports, and a historic starting point of the maritime Silk Road, Guangzhou still carries the pulse of centuries of cultural exchange and mercantile energy. Picture Guangzhou and the lively scene of dim sum culture and the futuristic charm of the Canton Tower instantly paint a vibrant mental picture. But look a little closer, and the city quietly reveals deeper layers of its soul. Wander its leafy boulevards, and you'll find colonial-era villas standing shoulder to shoulder with Tang Dynasty temples, and tucked between them, locals sipping tea under flowering banyan trees, as if time itself has slowed in these hidden corners. The traditional Lingnan-style arcades, known as Chilo, cast long shadows on the stone-paved streets, whispering tales of old merchants, poets, and travelers from distant lands who once passed through this vibrant node of Silk Road trade. Despite its size and modernity, Guangzhou exudes a certain softness and ease of living that comes through in the early morning rhythm of Tai Chi in city parks, the clinking of porcelain teacups over bamboo steamers, and the mingling aromas of herbal medicine, roasted chestnuts, and wok-fried noodles drifting from alleyway kitchens. The city pulses with life but never overwhelms. It's a place where history and innovation coexist gracefully like two voices in a harmonious duet. As the city continues to evolve, its identity remains rooted in openness, adaptability, and connection values that have shaped Guangzhou's role in the Silk Road for centuries. Hangzhou, cradled at the southern end of China's Grand Canal in Zhejiang province, is a city that reads like a graceful poem, quiet, evocative, and timeless. With over 2,200 years of history gently folded into its landscapes, this ancient capital of the Southern Song dynasty has long held a place in the hearts of travelers, poets, and emperors. It is said in Chinese lore, "In heaven, there is paradise. On earth, there are Suzhou and Hangzhou." One only needs to stand along the banks of West Lake, watching willow branches sway over the water's mirrored surface, to understand why. Though now modern and connected, with its own international airport, high-speed rail links, and thriving city center, Hangzhou has retained an old-world elegance that lingers in the misty air. Walk its cobbled pathways and you'll encounter ancient pagodas, stone bridges, and temples cloaked in incense smoke, each one whispering stories of dynasties past. The lake itself, surrounded by gardens and legends, has inspired countless paintings, operas, and poems. Yet beyond its visual beauty, Hangzhou holds deep cultural significance. As China's silk capital, it once played a major role in the Silk Road's bustling economy, exporting its delicate, lustrous textiles across continents. In the surrounding hills, terraced tea fields still flourish today, nurturing the famous Longjing tea, a fragrant green tea prized worldwide. Visiting a tea plantation here is more than just a sensory experience. It is a chance to taste centuries of craftsmanship and tradition in every sip. Hangzhou is not simply a destination. It is a moment of stillness in a traveler's journey, a place where history, nature, and daily life harmonize. It offers a quieter kind of wonder, the beauty of reflection, of legacy preserved in detail, and the elegance of a city that has always known how to slow time just enough for you to savor it. Malacca, or Malacca as it is also lovingly called, rests quietly along the southwest coast of peninsular Malaysia, where the Malacca River winds through the heart of the city before meeting the sea. Though small in size, this UNESCO World Heritage gem holds within it centuries of stories woven into the cobblestone streets, echoed through time-worn buildings, and lingering in the scent of spices rising from bustling kitchens. For travelers tracing the ancient Silk Road's maritime routes, Malacca is a stop that feels like a pause in time, filled with vibrant color, flavor, and culture. Few places in Southeast Asia wear their past as openly and proudly as Malacca. Its rich tapestry of history bears the marks of Portuguese, Dutch, and British colonization, and these layers still shine through today's scene in everything from colonial-era churches and cherry-red townhouses to the ruins of a Formosa fort. It is here that Malacca's character truly reveals itself, not loud or hurried, but soulful and quietly compelling. Adding even more depth is the presence of the Peranakan or Straits Chinese community, whose unique Nanya culture has become one of the city's most treasured identities. Despite its deep historical roots, Malacca is far from a dusty relic. The riverfront, especially in the golden light of evening, becomes a living gallery of color and life. Taking a river cruise here is one of the simplest yet most enchanting ways to absorb the city's essence, passing by murals, lantern-lit cafes, and wooden homes standing quietly on stilts as the breeze carries stories from one shore to the other. Museums abound each, offering insight into everything from local customs and colonial encounters to maritime adventures and Islamic art. And yet, what lingers most after a visit is not just the knowledge gained, but the feeling of having stepped into a place where worlds once met and mingled, and where that spirit of exchange still hums softly beneath the surface. Malacca is not just a stop along the way, it is a destination of reflection, flavor, and warmth. It was also about ideas, beliefs, tastes, and the graceful meeting of cultures, a legacy that still flows quietly and beautifully through this riverside city. Palembang, one of the oldest cities in Asia, is steeped in history and culture. Known affectionately as Kota Pempek, it beckons the curious traveler, especially those drawn to off-the-beaten-path destinations. Once fondly referred to as the Venice of the East, Palembang's charm may have dimmed over the years, but its rich heritage still lingers in every corner. The city's iconic Ampera Bridge, standing proudly across the Musi River, remains a symbol of Palembang, a timeless silhouette against the sky. For those who seek a deeper connection to nature, the city's ecotourism is a hidden gem, offering tranquil retreats and recently established parks that celebrate both the environment and adventure. Spanning over 400 square kilometers, Palembang is nestled on the eastern edge of the Bukit Barisan Mountains, with the Musi River flowing through its heart. Its location, about 105 kilometers from the Bangka Strait coast, places it in a unique position where history, nature, and modernity coexist. A destination where the past and present blend effortlessly, welcoming visitors to explore and uncover the layers of history that make the place so captivating. Istanbul, the only city in the world that gracefully straddles two continents, Europe and Asia divided by the shimmering ribbon of the Bosphorus, is more than a destination. It's an experience layered with the breath of empires, the murmur of centuries, and the scent of spice and sea. Once known as Byzantium, later as the glorious Constantinople, and now as Istanbul, this sprawling metropolis has served as the beating heart of two of the greatest empires in history, the Byzantine and the Ottoman, and every stone and silhouette still seems to whisper tales from both worlds. Wander through the old city Sultanahmet, and it's like stepping into a living museum. Here, majestic domes and slender minarets rise above a skyline once dreamed into being by sultans and emperors. The mighty Hagia Sophia, which has stood as both church and mosque, holds within its walls the grandeur of both Christianity and Islam. Each site is more than architecture, it is a window into the soul of a city that has always lived at the crossroads of culture and time. But Istanbul is not just about its monuments. Its spirit pulses in the bazaars, where the smell of roasted chestnuts mingles with the earthy aroma of spices, and where traders still call out cheerfully, their stalls overflowing with silks, lanterns, antiques, and hand-woven carpets. In places like the Grand Bazaar or the Spice Market, the Silk Road seems alive again, unfolding in vivid color and vibrant human connection. Istanbul, in every sense, is a meeting point not only of continents, but of civilizations, eras, and emotions. It hums with the layered harmony of East and West, of old and new, of sacred and everyday. As a Silk Road destination, it is unmatched not only for its strategic location, but for its eternal role as a bridge between worlds, where the past is never far and wonder is always near. Konya, in the heart of Turkey, is one of the country's oldest and most sacred cities, a must-see on any Silk Road itinerary. It was once the capital of the Seljuk Empire and still retains the majesty of its golden age, reflected in its magnificent Islamic architecture, blue domes, and historic religious schools. But what makes Konya so special is not just its bricks and minarets, it's its deep cultural soul. Strolling Konya's wide streets, one encounters a fascinating blend of old and new. Small restaurants serve traditional Anatolian cuisine, local markets sell woolen carpets, ceramics, and fragrant spices, and friendly locals are eager to tell you about their city's history. Konya is not noisy, not rushed. It's a place to breathe deeply, slow down, and listen to the echoes of centuries. With its strategic location on ancient trade routes, Konya was once a stopover for caravans traveling the Silk Road. Today, the city retains the quiet rhythm of an academic and spiritual center, an ideal place to connect with the history of Asia and Europe in a gentle and profound way. Konya is not as flashy as Istanbul or as fairy tale as Cappadocia, but it is this inner silence that creates the unique charm of a spiritual pearl on the Silk Road. Yazd, nestled peacefully in the heart of the Iranian plateau, is a city of evocative beauty, an oasis in time on the legendary Silk Road. Yazd, nestled peacefully in the heart of the Iranian plateau, is a city of evocative beauty, an oasis in time on the legendary Silk Road. Surrounded by ancient towns such as Maybad and Ashkazar to the north, Bafak and Ardakan to the east, Abarko, Taft, and Meres to the south, and the majestic Isfahan to the west, Yazd occupies a strategic position, once an important stopover for ancient caravans. Covering an area of over 72,000 square kilometers, with over 500,000 inhabitants, Yazd is more than just a city. It is a vibrant space of history, culture, and faith. Strolling through the narrow terracotta alleys that meander like the veins of the desert, you will feel the exquisite beauty of traditional Iranian architecture for its harsh environment. The towering wind towers, or badgurs, rise into the sky like dream guardians, catching the desert breeze that gently cools the clay houses below. The large reservoirs and the ancient qanats, underground water pipes stretching for dozens of kilometers, are testament to the extraordinary ingenuity of the people here in adapting to the harsh nature. Yazd is also special in its religious diversity, a rare feature in the Middle East. It is one of the last remaining centers of Zoroastrianism, the ancient religion of Iran. Every afternoon, when the sunset falls on the honey-colored clay domes, Yazd seems to be dressed in a soft yellow coat. Yazd is not flashy, not noisy, but it is a place where one can easily find profound beauty, a desert gem lit by faith, memory, and art, worthy of being one of the most desirable destinations on the journey to discover the cultural treasures of the Silk Road. Georgia, a land where the Caucasus Mountains dominate the sky and rivers flow silently through lush valleys, has long held a special position at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, not only geographically, but also culturally, ideologically, and commercially. But it was around the 6th century that Tbilisi, Georgia's glittering and romantic capital, truly became a vital link on the Silk Road. As the conflict between Byzantium and Iran deepened, caravans needed a new route to connect east and west, avoiding the war zones around the Mediterranean. And as fate would have it, Georgia provided the ideal path. The first caravans loaded with precious silks from the east crossed the shores of the Caspian Sea, then quietly weaved their way through Georgia's hillsides and plains, carrying the scent of cinnamon, the tinkling of camel bells, and the shimmer of rich fabrics. They stopped in Tbilisi, where the ancient stone walls seemed to have long awaited a prosperous era. Today, if you wander through Tbilisi's old town, you will feel that time seems to have passed slowly. The ancient villas in Persian style mixed with European architecture, the walls are broken and patchy, but still proudly tell the story of a glorious past. In the tiny shops, colorful handmade wool carpets spill out onto the sidewalks, inviting travelers to step into a world woven with silk, color, and ancient legends. Not only a crossroads of trade, Georgia is also the heart of sericulture, the foundation of the silk industry. The mild climate and fertile soil here are ideal conditions for growing mulberries, turning this land into a silk center during the Soviet period. Georgia, and especially Tbilisi, is not a noisy or flashy destination. But it is the quiet, the time-soaked antiquity, and the seemingly trivial details. An old wooden door, an old carpet, a cup of fragrant tea, that make this place a memorable stop on the Silk Road journey, a place where memories and the present are quietly intertwined like soft silk threads. Nestled among the towering mountains that tower like a giant citadel of nature, Karimabad, the resplendent center of the Hangzhou Valley, Pakistan, appears like a precious gem, carefully kept between heaven and earth. The towering peaks of the Karakoram range embrace this place like a protective embrace, making time stand still, so that Karimabad's landscape retains its pristine, majestic, and peaceful appearance as it did in ancient times, when this place was an important stop on the southern Silk Road, connecting China and the Indian subcontinent. Today, Karimabad lies along the Karakoram Highway, a masterpiece of modern engineering that winds through rugged mountains, taking visitors from Islamabad all the way to Kashgar, China. This small town has become a favorite destination for those seeking unspoiled beauty, quiet space, and ancient traces left by centuries of East-West merchants. It is impossible to talk about Karimabad without mentioning the two ancient citadels, Altit and Baltit, like two silent sentinels that have stood tall for over 800 years. These are not only magnificent architectural works, but also stone books recording the history of trade, culture, and life associated with the Silk Road. Lost in the small corridors inside the fortress, you will find the way to the flat roofs, which used to be the observation points of warriors, overlooking the deep gorges where the merchants once roamed. Karimabad is not a destination for the hurried. It is for those who want to live slowly, to feel every cool breeze blowing through, every light shining through the valley, and every ancient story told through stone, wood, and the breath of the mountains and forests. Therefore, this place deserves to be a sparkling gem on the legendary map of best Silk Road destinations. Almaty, Kazakhstan's largest city and cultural heart, was once one of the bustling hubs of the Silk Road. Nestled against the majestic Tian Shan Mountains, Almaty was not only a meeting place for East and West, but also a place where people, goods, and ideas converged. A vibrant stop on an ancient trade route that shaped the world. Today, Kazakhstan is trying to reawaken that dream, with the desire to bring visitors back to that legendary journey through its remaining heritage and inspiring cultural experiences. The government is investing heavily in reviving sites that were closely associated with the Silk Road's heyday, not only to preserve historical memories, but also to create a modern route where visitors can step back in time with their own feet. However, a major challenge facing Kazakhstan is the mobile and sprawling nature of the Silk Road. Because it was once a trade route that linked cities rather than a series of permanent structures, few physical traces remain today. The ancient merchants left behind only the outlines of caravanserai, a few dusty roads and oral histories passed down through generations. This makes recreating the spirit of the Silk Road a challenging but also poetic journey. Yet Almaty shines with a contemporary vitality that blends the ancient with the ancient. The colorful bazaars, where the scents of dried fruits, spices, and teas evoke days gone by. The museums filled with precious artifacts. And the breathtaking natural landscapes provide the perfect backdrop for anyone who wants to reimagine the ancient trade that once covered Central Asia. Almaty is more than just a destination. It is a portal back in time, where the mysteries of history are still waiting to be written by 21st century travelers. Nara, a quiet but sacred stop on the eastern side of the Silk Road, was the glorious capital of Japan from 710 to 794 AD. Not only did silk travel along that ancient trade route, but also Eastern religions, arts, and philosophical ideas were spread by the footsteps of merchants. It was here that Nara became an important religious center, a place of profound exchange between indigenous Shintoism and Buddhism transmitted from the Asian continent. The unique feature of Nara is the Great Buddha statue, a majestic giant bronze structure located in the heart of Todaiji Temple. This temple to this day still holds the title of the largest wooden architectural structure in the world. Stepping inside, visitors are stunned by the majesty and sacredness of the ancient space, where time seems to slow down and the temple bell echoes like a whisper from the past. Surrounding Todaiji is the lush Nara Park, which not only preserves many valuable historical and spiritual relics, but is also famous for its semi-wild deer that leisurely stroll beside people. According to ancient legend, the deer here are messengers of the gods, and to this day, they are still loved and pampered by locals and tourists as special guests of the city. Although many people only visit Nara on a day trip from Kyoto or Osaka, if possible, spend at least one night here. When night falls, the ancient streets, moss-covered temple roofs, and quiet atmosphere of Nara will give you an unforgettable sense of serenity, as if you were truly touching the soul of the Silk Road in the gentle breath of the land of the rising Sunday. Armenia, a name that may not be mentioned often in stories about the Silk Road, but in fact, this small country nestled in the Caucasus Mountains played an indispensable role in the journey connecting East and West. Strategically located in the fertile Ararat Valley, Armenia was a natural stopover where caravans laden with silk, spices, gems, and ideas from all over Asia were forced to pass through on their journey across the continent. Yerevan, today's capital of Armenia, and many other ancient cities in the region were once bustling transit points where goods, art, and ideas from the East met the cultures of West Asia. Although not as prominent as Samarkand or Bukhara, Yerevan quietly benefited from that exchange, absorbing the essence, while at the same time preserving its own unique identity. Because Armenia is not just a convenient place, but has long been a land rich in culture, art, and traditional crafts. Armenian wine, natural dyes, hand-woven carpets, and sturdy mountain horses were exported as far away as Babylon and Persia as early as the 5th century BC. Merchants on the Silk Road, always in search of the new and the unique, could not ignore Armenia's workshops and bazaars, where not only material goods were exchanged, but also stories, customs, and a creative spirit that has lasted for centuries. What is remarkable is that, despite receiving influences from everywhere, Armenia has always maintained its own beliefs and identity. As the first country in the world to adopt Christianity as its state religion, the religion is deeply ingrained in the country's landscape, with countless ancient churches dotting the cities and villages. Today, walking on the ancient streets of Yerevan, visitors can still feel the breath of the Silk Road somewhere, not noisy, ostentatious, but quiet, persistent, just like the way Armenia has accompanied history, unobtrusive but never absent. From desert dunes to ancient domes, the Silk Road weaves more than just trade routes. It carries stories, cultures, and dreams across centuries. Each destination along the way is a thread in a vast tapestry of history and wonder, where the past feels close enough to touch and the spirit of adventure never fades. So until your own journey begins, may the echoes of camel bells and caravan tales stay with you, and may the Silk Road one day welcome you in person